First Take is brought to you by Old Spice. Men have skin too, you know? And Hilton. Get the best perks and the price match guarantee when you book at Hilton.com.
SportsCenter 6 Eastern after PTI with Kevin and Sage from Oakland. They'll look at why it could be a big night for one Kawhi Leonard. Plus, Odell Beckham Jr.'s comments at Browns minicamp. SportsCenter after PTI on ESPN and the ESPN app.
Over the last several hours, I have learned that Kyrie Irving has given every indication to the Brooklyn Nets that that is where he wants to go, not the New York Knicks. If he decides to go to Brooklyn, KD ain't interested in going to Brooklyn. And as a result, the belief is that KD will either go to New York without him, convince him to come to New York, or settle for somebody like a Kemba Walker, or KD may decide to stay in Golden State.
Whoa. Now, what? Hold on.
If he decides, whether or not he decides to go to Golden State, the belief is it's contingent on whether or not Golden State wins. If they win the finals, he leaves. If they lose, he stays.
Good morning, everybody. Welcome back into First Take. You're seeing beautiful Lake Merritt out here in Oakland. It is game day, game 3 tonight. So happy to be here amongst our First Take fam. They are ready to go bright and early. Gorgeous day out here in California. All right, everybody. So you just heard Stephen A. dropping some knowledge about Kevin Durant's potential plans. Stephen A., let me ask you this. Would it be a mistake for KD to leave this Warrior squad and go to the Knicks?
Nope, it wouldn't. You see, here's how you have to look at it. You know, some people, when Kobe Bryant decided that he didn't want to play with Shaq anymore and what have you, and people were knocking him, Kobe's whole mentality was, I got 3 rings with the brother. We know how many we could probably get together. But when all is said and done, what are they going to say about me? You said that I was Shaq's little brother? I was Shaq's sidekick? Is that how I want to be recognized? Is that what I want the definition of my legacy to entail? He made that choice that he didn't want that. Me personally, Shaq being my brother, knowing him as much as I do, loving him the way that I do, loving L.A. the way that I do, hell, I would have been fine with it. That ain't Kobe. You KD. You come to Golden State. You're a 2-time Finals MVP. You recognize the fact that you had to be a part of a great team, a team that, by the way, isn't given nearly as much credit as it deserves for its unselfishness, its commitment to team, the way they play together, the way they share the basketball, the way they make certain sacrifices for one another. I mean, this is one of the all-time great teams, one of the more underappreciated teams you'll ever find as a champion. But the flip side is that Steph Curry is the basketball version of Derek Jeter with the New York Yankees. It don't matter. If Steph Curry passed gas, y'all call it perfume. This is what it is. This is his town. This is his team. This is his franchise. And see, when you, and if there was never a Klay Thompson and it was just Steph and Kevin Durant all of these years, it's not a big deal. But when you think about a sidekick, Klay Thompson is the ultimate sidekick. So where does that leave somebody like KD, who's clearly the best player on the team and one of the greatest players in the history of basketball? You can't even be a sidekick in Golden State because Klay got that down pat. You can't be the star in Golden State because Steph Curry is beloved by all of you. Where does that leave KD? You know what? He goes to New York, a franchise that hasn't won a championship since 1973, that Max has just completely turned on. I mean, he is done with it. He don't even want to be recognized as being a former New York Knicks lover. If KD somehow were to manage to go to Gotham City and pull it off. Do you understand? He'd be bigger than Ewing. He'd be bigger than Frazier. He'd be bigger than Earl of Pearl Monroe. He'd be bigger than Dave DeBuscher. He'd be bigger than Bernard King. He'd be the biggest, the biggest star in the history of New York basketball if he pulled this off.
Chill.
And that's where I'm at.
Chill. Let me ask something. Would he be bigger than Dr. J?
Dr. J?
Who played New York basketball for the New York Nets.
Yes, he would. Yes, he would.
For the New York Nets.
Time out. That wasn't a rhetorical question. I'm answering it. Yes, he would.
But Dr. J is bigger than everyone you just mentioned. He's bigger than everyone you just mentioned. Played for the Nets, not the Knicks.
But Dr. J wasn't
not
big
the
because
Knicks,
of the Nets.
Bum franchise. Will you stop it? I rooted for them for 40 years.
Dr. J wasn't big because of the Nets. He was big because he was the doctor.
My turn. Look, it would be a terrible mistake for KD to sign with the Knicks, a mistake he would always regret almost from day one. Yes. The history of the Knicks under Dolan is they are dysfunctional. They have no patience. They keep directing and redirecting what they're doing. They tear it down and start again because he's an impetuous, impulsive, and very, very ineffective owner in terms of the competitive product on the field, on the court. Now, he makes a lot of money because people like Stephen A. Smith will root for the Knicks no matter what. So he knows he has a captive audience. He can do whatever he wants.
That's not true, Spike Lee.
But look, right, Spike Lee, you and some others.
No,
right.
I don't go to.
By the way, I was once like that, and then I saw the light. Let me explain something to you.
You moved to LA. That's what the light.
It's not about New York, okay? It's about the Knicks. It's not that KD. It's not that I don't think you can handle New York. I think you can handle New York just fine. I don't think you would be happy on the dysfunctional Knicks. Now, I want to talk about the Nets, on the other hand. If KD decides to leave here, it's because he's sick of people like me, partly, saying, what did you really prove? You went to a 73-win team, and now you guys can't be beat? Big deal. Let me see you go do it somewhere else where it's not overwhelming odds you automatically win. KD goes to Brooklyn. Well, they're not as big as the Knicks. That would change overnight. The Nets would be bigger than the Knicks that day, and they'd be a better team than the Knicks. And unlike the Knicks, the Brooklyn franchise is not dysfunctional. It's a healthy, highly functional franchise with a good coach, good supporting cast. By the way, they could figure out how to get another superstar there with Kevin Durant. And Brooklyn is not just any borough. Brooklyn rings bells around the world, as I keep mentioning. There are kids in China and England named Brooklyn. It's like the sexiest borough in New York. Not the Knicks, the Nets.
I do have a question. When's the last time you've been to China?
About 5 years ago.
All right. Not the last season when they made the playoffs. Because certainly 5 years ago, the Brooklyn Nets didn't ring bells in China, did they? Brooklyn rings bells around the world. The borough of Brooklyn, like Welcome Back, Cotter, fourth largest city. Brooklyn. Does Brooklyn ring bells, yes or no? You all familiar with the borough of Brooklyn? Yeah. Time out. They're familiar with L.A. You don't see people talking about the Clippers that much, and that's not to say they shouldn't, but the point is it doesn't happen. The brand that is the Brooklyn Nets is not the Knicks. Now, don't get me wrong. The Brooklyn Nets, Sean May, Kenny Atkinson, those guys are doing a fabulous job. I mean, they did a sensational job last year. Mad love and respect for the Brooklyn Nets. No question about it. But I'm telling you right now, if KD went to New York and brought just one chip, he'd be the biggest star in New York basketball history.
But that's the biggest star. That's with either franchise. So then the question becomes, do you want to go to the franchise that gives you a lesser chance of doing that, or the franchise that gives you a greater chance of doing that?
What's wrong with David Fizdale and Scott Perry and Steve Mills? It's changing of the guard.
I don't know when you should ask that one.
Every couple of years, it's changing of the guard, Molly. Dolan is the problem. As long as he's there, they'll change the guard again. And we'll say, what's wrong with this guy and this guy? And they're still not going to win.
But here's where I have a problem with your... And Max is not wrong with what he's saying, but Max is being incredibly unfair to the Knicks when it comes to Dolan in this regard. Dolan and the Knicks are a problem because the business of Madison Square Garden hovers over the basketball franchise so much, and he's so petty that what happens is that he'll steal headlines. They trade Porzingis. This man is stealing headlines for having some kid banned from Madison Square Garden. The nonsense.
Why would that stop?
No, what I'm saying is that kind of nonsense is what gets in the way. In terms of basketball decisions, under Steve Mills, Fizdale, Scott Perry, I have utmost confidence in the New York Knicks. It's those stupid headlines like the one that I just brought
Woodson
up.
a good coach?
That's a problem.
Was Woodson a good coach?
I thought he was.
Me too. Was Donnie Walsh a good GM?
Yeah.
I think so, too. They've had good coaches and good GMs, but they keep turning everything over because Dolan is the problem.
Yes.
So KD goes to a dysfunctional place, he will regret it. Go to New York if that's what you want to do. Go to the Nets.
But no other player has been granted the power that Kevin Durant will have to get what he wants. And I'm telling you right now, that's going to be a big difference. The other players got contracts. This guy, Kevin Durant, if he comes to New York, Dolan will give him whatever he wants. Whatever he wants.
Except for a championship. He'll mess that up.
All right.
Well, that ain't Dolan's job. That's
Well,
Kevin
KD and the
Durant's job
Warriors,
once he
even if
gets there.
KD's not playing, are focused on winning a championship, and that mission continues tonight. We are about 10 hours away from game time right here in Oakland. They're the two favorites for MVP, but neither the Beard or the Greek Freak is going to be happy with Stephen A. today. We will explain. This crowd about to get hammered. MC Hammer is here, and joins us after the short break.